Motherhood,
and Daughterhood,
and every hood in between. You're tuned into the PnK Connection.
Welcome to the PnK Connection. We're your co-hosts, and my name is Morgan Valdez.
And I'm Michelle Valentine.
And today we have a really awesome episode. So, Mom, kind of take it away a little bit. Tell us about.
Today we have the amazing Dr. Damia Harris-Madden, who just happens to be the Commissioner of the New York State Office of Children and Family Services. Did I get it right?
A little bit.
You correct me. And her beautiful daughter, Ashley. But you tell us who you are.
Sure. So way more than the title. That can always change, right? But very proud to be the Commissioner of the New York State Office of Children and Family Services.
Awesome. Ashley?
Hello, my name is Ashley Madden. I am a second-year health science major on the pre-med track, attending Spelman College. Currently at school, I'm on the Blue Record podcast as an archivist where we talk a lot about social justice, environmental justice, and anything concerning or things that would uplift the Black woman community. I am in a number of clubs that I all, partake in, a couple of pre-med clubs, a couple of artistic clubs, just things that I enjoy doing. And I'm so happy to be here today.
We are so happy to have you. So
Yes,
as
we
usual, here on the PnK Connection, we go through motherhood,
Daughterhood.
and every hood in between. And today, what hood are we in?
But before we even step into what hood we're in, what's the vibe today, Ma?
Oh, yes.
Vibe check,
Sometimes
1, 2,
I get
3.
beyond myself because I'm never really thinking vibe check. It's something that we do. It just takes the temperature of the mood. How are you feeling today? What's going on? I know the world is in a crazy place.
Yes.
But when we step into the pink room and the pink place, hopefully we leave all those worries outside. But we want to know, what's the vibe check? So for me, I'll kick it off just to show you how it's going to go. On a scale of 1 to 5, my vibe check today is a 3, unfortunately. It's been a crazy week, but we're here together on an amazing Friday night. So, I'm trying to leave all of that outside. But a 3, it's been a lot going on. It's been a crazy week. And I've really been trying to practice not saying I'm fine.
Yes.
So
Well, hopefully by the end of this episode, we can get you to maybe a 4.5.
I'm aiming for 5.
I guess I'll go next. My vibe is a bit of I'll say a 4.2. I don't think I had a bad day per se. I felt like it was pretty productive. And every time we're filming the PnK Connection, it comes up a little bit more. So I'll give it a 4.2 for my vibe today.
Love that.
What about you, ladies?
I'm going to give it a 5. It would be easy for me to say a 1 because it's always something crazy happening. I'm going to give it a 5 because I love being in this space with these beautiful and amazing women. And it is so uplifting, but also just from a work perspective, yesterday was a major announcement for New York State. My principal, who was Governor Hochul, announced an amazing proposal for universal child care, which means so much to working parents and moms in particular. She has done so much in this space, and it was on the cover of the New York Times, and I'm standing there with her proudly, also with the city's new mayor. And so I'm really excited about what is to come, particularly as we try to make childcare the most affordable in New York State.
Amazing.
I love that.
Yeah.
What about you, Ashley?
I love to hear all the high numbers, very important. I would say I'm feeling a good 4, feeling very open to this conversation. I enjoy, one-on-one talks. I love just having interesting conversations with people. And I feel like this can be a space where we can just, dive into, honesty, authenticity. It's going to be great.
I love it.
Yes, I love
So
the
2 4s and a
positivity.
5. That means I have to come up a little bit,
A
huh?
little bit.
Just because of the energy. I can't bring it down with a 3.
Yes.
I'm going to push myself to 4.1.
I told you, we're not letting you leave without a 4.5.
Okay.
All
Well,
right,
we're just
so
getting started.
let's dive into what hood we're in today. On this episode of the PnK Connection, we will be talking about how loving someone often means wanting the best for them. But whose version of the best are we chasing? In this episode, we explore the space between parental hopes, dreams, and how communication can turn expectations into support. So we're going to dive right into the topic of today, which is what I want for you, what you want to. All right? So let's kick it off with the first question. How were ideas of success formed early on? How did you kind of instill success and measuring success when giving Ashley these ideologies?
Sure. So, I mean, as a mother of 3, I would say with all my children, it's been a little bit different. But Ashley was fortunate to be my only child for 8 years. So she might take that as good and she may take it as bad because she is the leader as it relates to the younger children. But I would say very early on, there were key items that were like very important for me for her to have foundation. And that was always love, always trust, and just ensuring that whatever she does, she flourishes. Flourishing being the ultimate outcome for her life, which takes time. Some people use the word thriving, but flourishing is a step beyond that, in that you want your children to really know who they are, know where they come from, but also know that they are loved and that they are valued, even when they don't recognize it. But also so that they are confident, they are self-sufficient in the end, capable of taking care of themselves, and also empowered to really pursue the goals and their dreams.
I love that.
I love that as well.
Thank you.
So that's an amazing angle from which you came and from which you established the foundation. But Ashley, did you receive all of that? Did you feel all of that? Did you experience that too? Because I know sometimes with Morgan and I,
Right.
this is what I did. This was my mission. This is how I did it. But she's like, well, I don't know. So sometimes, even though I feel like I'm executing all of this, she doesn't feel like it's fully received. Do you feel like everything your mom said has been fully received?
I will say yes, I did receive that. My mom was very onto the concept of being the best I can be and always putting my foot forward. And there was always love and support that was there. I will say though,
It's a safe space.
It's a safe space. There's only a couple of thousand people watching.
Very safe, very safe. I will say though, like, if it was, I always knew what the program was. I'm sure if anyone has a very, goal-driven mother, they know that there is a program and you are not bigger than the program. So, like, if I was going to do something, I was going to be the best at it. And there were no ifs, ands, or buts. And I always loved that push. Sometimes it could be a lot because, my mom, I know, sees me in a very, very good light, very high light. And I just want to make sure that I measure up to that. So it is a little bit challenging, but I will say though, I have felt the support and I have felt the love, but no one is bigger than the program. No one's bigger than mom's program. So
We're going to circle back to how those expectations kind of shaped who you are today. So do you want to lead with the next question?
So basically, it's a segue from what you've already said. With no one being bigger than mom's program, have there been times when mom's program wasn't necessarily your program and thus you felt pressured to adhere to mom's program?
was there?
So I know as moms, we don't call ourselves applying pressure, but it can be received that way. We just want the best for you, and we see so much in you that we want you to see it in yourselves. But sometimes talking to young people, they feel that that's pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that way, or have there been times when you have felt that way?
There have definitely been times where I have felt the pressure. I will say for the most part, my mom and I have been on the same page with the things that I want. We have a very open relationship where I can say, hey, this is something that I want to do. Oh, especially with me being on the pre-med track, it's a lot of complicated things that might come up in the future. So I always am able to talk to her about, this is what comes next. It's very uncertain, a long, uncertain process. she'll raise questions. She's tried to dissuade me a little bit from a physician to maybe nurse practitioner. I'm like, I don't know about that. That's not really my program. But, we always keep a channel open for honest conversation, ways that we can, ask each other questions without overstepping sometimes.
So you would say overall it's been a safe space for you to kind of voice your wants as well in comparison to mom's wants?
For the most part.
Okay.
For the most part.
How early on do you feel that these expectations were kind of placed onto your life?
Oh. When
You could give me a range.
I want to
From
say,
birth.
honestly, it all started
with the program.
There was this program. I want to say from the beginning, in the beginning of my life. I mean, there was always an expectation to do academically well, to study, to make sure I had good grades, to stay involved in school. I mean,
Love it.
Yeah,
I'm going to ask you the same.
yeah, for sure.
Sure. How early on these expectations were placed onto me? If I'm being honest, I don't feel like there were super heavy expectations on me as a kid. I was pretty free in a lot of ways to try a lot of different things. School, again, was also something that was pretty drilled into my head that you have to at least bring home an A or a B. But, it wasn't like, if you don't bring home a B or A, you're in big, big trouble. So I do think I had that leverage to kind of explore things and not have that heavy, heavy pressure on myself at that early age. Now the pressure is increased as you get older, as you get more responsibilities. But early on, I don't feel like I had major pressure on myself.
That's great.
What about you?
Thank you. What about me?
How early on? I know you're very goal-driven, very ambitious, but how early on, is that just natural? Did you feel like that was placed onto you as well? Or was that kind of just always innate?
Both. I think that my mom set standards by the way that she operated, right? And so I consider Damia and I to have very similar styles in parenting. Driven, focused, and also teaching by example, right? So we're not here saying, you've got to do this and you've got to do that, and we're not doing any of it, right? So that's the best way to teach. I definitely feel like my mom taught me by her work ethic and the things that she was able to do simultaneously, which made me a hustler.
Right.
It's never just been one thing for me. Education was always important to my mom. I was expected to bring home good grades, and thus I did. And plus, I started to have that expectation of myself, right? And I think that as we raise our children, we set examples that we pray that they want to follow, and they see that we're doing it and what we're able to achieve by doing it. And thus, they want to have that same feeling of pride for themselves.
Right.
I don't want you to be achieving things for me. I want you to be achieving things for you. I'm going to hand it over to you as the other mom here in the pink place.
Thank you for that. And I agree. I echo everything you said. My mother's childhood influenced her, and she didn't have the rigor and types of supports that she provided to me and the expectations, because obviously generationally things change. But for her, it was just an expectation that I was going to do well, and she did not have to do much. And I also was that type of child. And as I'm thinking about both Ashley and Morgan, some things I think are inherent and other things are learned. And one cookie cutter approach doesn't apply. So as I mentioned before, I have 2 other children.
That's right.
And
Both
if I'm
girls, so 3 girls. Damia is a mother of 3 girls.
Girl mom, which was always a surprise. But what I will say is, Ashley will say, back in my day, like this never worked. So I'm going to admit that the style has changed a little bit, in part because I've gotten older. I have increased responsibility, but also they're different children. I was fortunate in that Ashley was just, I think, born driven. There were things that she and I did not see eye to eye on very early on that she may not recall. She like you was very strong in the performing arts.
Oh, yep.
And I was like, are you kidding me? Science. Until I realized performing arts, particularly because her instrument was her voice and she played the guitar and she was acting, I was like, oh, well, that does involve some math. And
Which I hated math.
And so I had to like shift a little bit. And I think it's the same for my mom. So my mom's expectation was for me not to pursue a career in human services because she was in human services. I went a different direction and entered the corporate arena because I was just told my entire life, never, ever enter this field of work. It's too stressful. It's not a return on investment. And if you're going to go to school, I need you to go for something that's going to be lucrative, to which I did. But I still found myself back in the place where she said not to go, right? So it's interesting. So your first question starts out like, how were you given, expectations and what was it like passed down to you from your mom? I think about it not being so linear, instead eventually connecting, if that makes sense. So like Ashley didn't mention that part of her life, talked more about the sciences, which of course makes me proud, but I hope she knows that I also was very proud of the accomplishments in the performing arts and the instrument, which is a beautiful voice. But back then, I just was trying to steer her away from that because I thought of it as like a pastime. And I was like, no, your focus needs to be here. So I think it just, as we all mature as mothers and daughters, we start to evolve, but the baseline is always going to be there, which is love.
Right.
And empathy, respect, and just admiration for this beautiful being that you've brought into the world.
Absolutely. And I would say you did teach me the concept of blending two things that may not seem linear and could be completely polar, but to combine them into one thing that you love, especially with the arts and sciences. I realized, there are pathways to go down that do combine art and science. I happen to choose something that doesn't necessarily include art anymore, but at the time, she was like, when we had really sat down and talked about it, she was like, there are ways to combine those two things. And I do thank you for that because that did help me, develop.
Oh, thank you. Glad it helped.
Yeah.
Similarly to Ashley, my mom has coined the term of only oldest, right? So you said that you had 8 years of being just you and Ashley were just you guys. It was just you guys until you had your other 2 babies, right? So you guys develop a very unique relationship, kind of just having that one-on-one time with each other at first, building that bond before your siblings kind of entered the picture. So as I'm getting older, I noticed that I'm trying to look at my mom and remind myself that she's a person, not just my mom, So giving her that grace as well, understanding that when she was learning, this is her first time being a parent as well as my first time being a daughter. Right. So, it's a very interesting perspective. So I find it beautiful that you guys have nurtured your relationship, having been in a similar position as me and my mom.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ashley, was there ever a time when you wanted to assert yourself against what your mom wanted for you?
Do you know what I'm going to bring up?
Go right ahead.
Well,
we're here.
I'm sure watchers listening, if you have any children that go through the college process or any listeners that are of age going through the college process themselves, my mom and I are very type A people. And we, during that process of writing applications, making sure that everything was in order, everything could, be said the best way possible, we crashed heads every single day.
I remember that.
Every day. And it was definitely something. It would be like, I got to come home now and fight with my mom about what I'm going to say in my applications. But yeah, for sure. It took a long time. Tireless nights, going back and forth, just emailing back and forth. Mom, can you look at this? How many times you said, I'm an English major. I know what I'm writing. But yeah, for sure. There have definitely been times where like we clash a lot. But And sometimes it can be hard to listen. I know I'm not the best listener sometimes because, I want to make sure that I want to have my voice in anything that I do. It's very funny. Back in grade school, I was never the type of student to come home and ask my mom, hey, can you proofread this? Because I was like, my mom is very, very type A, like I said, and she would, she'd look at it, she'd edit it, of course. And of course, it would always be with support and to make sure that the product would be the best as possible. But me, back then, I couldn't really see that because I wanted my own voice and I wanted, to be heard. Also, I thought I was a little bit, wise, thinking, oh, I know what I'm doing. But, yeah, it's sometimes you really have to put aside what you want to say a little bit to hear the other side so that you can combine ideas and, strengthen it because, 2 heads are better than 1.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And has there ever been a time when you're just like, let her rip?
No. Go ahead.
I know how this is going to turn out, but let her see how it's going to turn out.
Yeah. Especially with friends. I think, developing relationships. I grew up in a time where your friends, although there might be only 2 or 3, that's really all you needed. They were ride or die. And today, with the advent of social media and COVID and all the things, friendships, relationships are so different. And as, I try to get involved and then sometimes I'm like, she'll learn by herself. Because I'm looking from the 40-something-year-old view that person's not your friend. Release them. Move along.
Don't bring that person back to my house.
Release. Because
I've actually told Morgan, don't bring her back.
Right.
Don't bring her back. That's funny.
Yeah, sure. But then, I also recognize that she's a young adult and she has to make her own decisions and make her choices, and hopefully they will work out for the best. Mm-hmm. And if they don't, I'm always here to be as supportive as possible. I mean, I probably will tell you, well, I told you so.
I knew it.
I knew it. I saw it since she was 5 years old. But, again, those are like some of the things that you want to let them step out on. Some things that are more difficult is, certainly when you want to guide your children in like the least path of pain, and you want them to really hear you and listen to you, but they have to go through it. So that could be a more deep or intimate relationship that she may be having as a young adult. And, certain things you notice and you're like, you might want to pay attention to this. But at the end of the day, like, you don't want to alienate and make them feel like they can't talk to you. Because I'm that mom that probably says way too much and wants to like hear way too much because I never want my child to hide things from me.
Right.
So,
I'm the same.
So what specific tools do you guys utilize in moments like that where you don't want to kind of overstep care versus control?
It's
blurry, right?
That's a very good question. Right? So how do you what do you do? What would you suggest?
I mean, I would suggest, really allowing that young person that you've raised to have agency to actually make decisions and fall back just a little bit and remember that you've given them the best tools you can.
Right.
And they sometimes have to fall in order to get up. And that is hard to watch, hard to do. And I'm not going to say I'm perfect at that either, because again, I'm still inserting myself in things that maybe I could take a step back from. But, I do think that it's a balance. And for me, it's really not about control, Morgan.
Okay.
I know it presents that way for moms. I know how you feel, Michelle, but it's like, it presents that way to children about their moms, because when you are a child, that is kind of how it looks, how it's framed. This is you're controlling aspects of their life because they're not fully formed yet. But when you're a young adult, and even I would say a teenager, right? It's not about controlling you as much as it is trying to help support you and guide you to make the right decisions and have good outcomes for your life. And so it might be perceived as control for sure, but that's not where it's really coming from. Do you feel
I
that
fully
way?
agree because control seems negative. And I don't believe that it's ever coming from a negative place. We only want to see the best for you. We only want to assist you in achieving what's best. And so control just feels negative. So to me, that's one of the rare cases where intention matters, right? And we're always going to be there to catch you or to help fix things if they should go awry. But sometimes we want to protect you. It's more protection than control, I think. Like Jay-Z said, right? I went through that so you don't have to go through that, right? Because most of the stuff we've experienced on some level and in some way.
Sure.
And if we can help you
Dodge those potholes.
dodge those bullets, we will do so.
So, Ashley, do you feel as it is control? Are you perceiving it as that way? Or are you more looking at it from your mom's perspective of she's doing this because she loves me?
You know, sometimes you really have to sit down and really think.
Really hard.
Really hard. If you squint hard enough, you can see.
Oh, wow.
But yes, I do. Sometimes when I hear some feedback, you know, sometimes I really do feel like, you know, this is just how she gets. You know, I don't know if any of you are Virgos, but I just know, well, at least my Virgo mother, she
I have
likes
a Virgo mother as well.
Shout out Virgo moms.
And what is your zodiac?
I'm a Leo.
Okay.
We're
You're
both
sitting here with
Cancers.
cancers.
Hey, I
Two
love
cancers.
Yes, that's crabs in a barrel at home.
So sweet.
I love cancers. Yeah. Not crabby at all.
She could be Cancer. She's right on the
On the
last day, 24th.
That's my moon
Yeah.
sign.
Nice.
I love sorry, guys. But she wants something done. Virgo mothers, I don't know. My Virgo mom loves to do something a specific way. So sometimes I really have to be like, you know, this is just how my mom perceives it. And I need to take some of that and combine it with what I want so that we can both reach an agreement, you know?
Alignment
Absolutely.
is everything.
Very important.
All right.
Yeah.
So, anything else you guys want to share? Tell us about.
Well, I have some more questions.
Please let me not interrupt.
Ashley, this one's specifically for you.
Uh-oh.
As a college student learning about who you are outside of home, how has independence reshaped your relationship with your mom? So kind of having that break. I know when I was away at school, I was like, I have my own apartment. Not really though, because she's paying the rent, right? So like, you know, you have this concept of freedom. But like, how has that?
It's false.
It is very false. But it did help me look at my mom differently. It did help me kind of, you know, sometimes what is the saying? Absence makes the heart grow fonder, right?
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you need that space to kind of spread your wings a little bit. Did you feel a bit of a difference when you went away to school with your mom and your relationship? Or was it kind of the same?
I did feel a bit of a difference, but I will say that quote is so true because I remember when I first got there, it's like, yes, I'm alone, I have my own, I'm single, I'm straight.
Right.
But I would still stay in touch with my mom. I would call her every day, you know, like update her about things, ask her for advice with different things I was involved in. I would call my mom quite frequently, actually, like giving updates and everything. But yeah, I would say like being independent at school really, sometimes I really have to channel my mom and be like, what would she do in a situation? You know, like stepping out of myself to really kind of, I don't know, maybe achieve a different, higher level of thinking. I don't know, Dr. Damia Harris-Madden. Like, you know, yeah.
Got it.
Have you guys ever bumped heads as far as your dating life?
Absolutely. Who goes first?
You can go first.
You know, Ashley, I had asked her to please not engage in any, serious relationship in her first year of school. And, given my history and background going away to school, it's a fun time. However, you're there to learn. And so you're there to also adjust, and you living in another state so far away from your parents. I recognize that desire to find, a relationship and wanting to have someone that you really believe has your back. And, I encourage her to flirt and to have fun, and not to, be with everybody in the town, but, to really to focus on her schoolwork, but focus on herself and her own development. And I also draw on my experience having gone to college, and may he rest in peace. I had an amazing boyfriend who was no longer with us, but, we were in a serious relationship, and he was a little older, so he graduated ahead of me. But, the idea that he graduated, wanted to start a family, get married, all those things was just a lot. And so I told my daughter about my background. We share a lot. And I said to her, please just be mindful the first year, don't get in a relationship. Well, what does she do? By the end of the first semester, she has a relationship. And the thing is,
like orientation.
Yeah. The thing is, I could see all the maneuvering. I mean, this guy did a lot. He was doing things that adults, the Morton's dinners. I'm looking at my phone, tracking her, of course. I'm like, she's a vegetarian. Why is she at Morton's Steakhouse?
Mashed potatoes.
What's happening here? But I could see what she couldn't, which was, the makings of a relationship where there would be control. And I just didn't want that for my daughter, but I had to let her experience it. So, I mean, I don't know, Ashley, if you want to fill in the rest. They're not together anymore. However,
you prayed it away.
Oh, that was such a funny time. that was definitely a crazy time.
She sent me a picture, and I was like, don't send me no more pictures.
He was like, I don't want to see him.
I was like, I don't want to.
Yeah. I was a victim to the first year relationship. Don't do it. Don't do it. If anyone's watching, don't do it.
Well, you came out on the other side beautifully.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
And you got your wish.
she did.
No, I want her to eventually meet someone,
but
not
first
in the
semester.
beginning. No.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so happy that we have the relationship to even have a discussion or have honestly multiple discussions about relationships and, occurrences that go on in relationships. I know people be leaving out stuff, very little filtering. We have, very open lines of communication, especially things that were going on during that time.
That's
wonderful, because that makes you have a safe space,
right?
And not feel isolated in what you're going through. Because isolation is the stealer of option, right?
Oh, yes.
You don't see anything else, and this is all you know. You feel like this is all there is.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have that person that you can rely on, share with, be transparent with, and has your back regardless, you know that if you move out of this, or if it's no longer serving you or whatever, it's okay to move on.
Right. That means the foundation was laid too. So
Yes.
good job,
Yeah.
Mom.
Good job, Mom.
Good job. Thank you.
All right. Do you have any more questions?
I don't at this time.
All right. So I guess we can do some final thoughts, closing it out. Is there anything you kind of want to share before we close it out for today?
I just want to say that it's so fantastic to come to the table, to be able to have these conversations. Mothers and daughters are very, very special, and the relationship is incredibly unique. And it's underrated for sure.
Absolutely.
Because society is set by the mother relationship with her children, and especially with that of her daughter who goes on to have children, right? So while you are her daughter, you're my daughter too, and vice versa. We're everybody's daughters and mothers. And even if you're not a mother, you're a daughter, right? So we're setting the tone and having these conversations and showing everyone that you can make it work, even though there are challenges, even though sometimes there's ups and downs. As long as the foundation is set and good, we can bring that out into the world and really make a difference because this world needs it.
It does, especially right now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And for you ladies, what's one piece each of pink advice you would give to whoever is watching right now from a mother's perspective and from a daughter's perspective? One thing you want everyone to just keep in mind as you're growing and going through life.
And the color pink is symbolic of softness and love, right? We think of red as love,
femininity as well.
but we also think of red as romantic love.
Right.
There's so many different kinds of love. And for me, pink means maternal love, sisterly love. And so that's the kind of advice we're looking for, something that's soft and safe.
Right.
Well, I will just borrow from you in that love is the foundation that every child needs. You know, I work in an industry where you see the outcomes when there's the absence of love in some instances. Although I want to believe that every parent wants to love their child as best as they can, but we have to recognize that sometimes when parents don't have the foundation of love, they don't know how to manifest love. And so it becomes this cyclical thing when they start to have children.
You
So
can't pour from an empty cup kind of concept, right?
Exactly. I don't think that any parent wakes up to say, I don't want to be a great parent. I don't want my child to think I don't love them. I think they just may not know what love really means and how that manifests. And so I would say as a mother, my advice is to always, no matter how it is presented, whether that's setting expectations, but also explaining why those expectations exist, or if it's the more social and emotional piece of being there, being responsive, being that active listener and collaborator in that child's life, demonstrating how much you love them. Love is foundational and love is what we all need. So I'll leave with that.
That was a good note.
That was great.
That was a good note.
Ashley?
I'll say that, you know, everyone is a compilation of different experiences and different emotions and honestly, different people that we have in our lives. And I'll say that it's important that we take pieces of people and really try to understand where they might be coming from, even if you think in the back of your mind, look, I don't support what my parents are saying, what this person is saying. If there's any way to twist and make it fit for your life, take that. I mean, a lot of people say take what resonates when you hear something. I think everyone should do that.
Morgan?
Oh,
Yes.
I don't have advice right now. Oh, we're hitting 42, by the way, but
No advice?
not at the moment.
I have a quick little thing of advice to mothers.
Okay.
Love yourself first. That's the only way that you can give love to your daughters, children in general. But if you don't have it, you can't give it.
For sure.
So be kind to yourself and love on yourself first, and everyone else will benefit. I think my mom told me that.
She did. All right. And last, something fun to end the episode
Something
with.
fun to
right?
end.
So we call this segment, She Said What? Okay, so I'm just going to read some quotes to you guys, and it's multiple choice. I'm going to give you 3 options as it pertains to who said this quote. All right? And you too, because you don't know the answers as well.
Okay.
Ooh.
All right. So the quote is, I'm rooting for everybody black. Who said it? Issa Rae, B, Taraji P. Henson, or C, Yvonne Orji?
I know.
Let them think.
Issa Rae?
Ding, 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 ding,
Yes,
ding, ding.
Issa Rae.
Issa said that.
That does seem like an Issa quote.
It is. All right. The next one is, you don't have to become what you want. Wait, I'm sorry. You don't become what you want. You become what you believe. Who said it? Michelle Obama, Marian Wright Edelman. Did I say it right? Edelman, and Oprah Winfrey. Who said that?
Can you repeat the quote?
You don't become what you want. You become what you believe.
I'll say Oprah.
Oprah? What do you say?
Sounds like an influential person quote, and all these are influential.
I know, right?
It could be Michelle. It could be Michelle. Marian.
They all said it.
I'll go with
One point.
Michelle.
I
Michelle?
would say Michelle too. That does sound like a Michelle quote.
You're locking it in?
Yeah.
Oprah said it.
Mm.
And last one. I'm not bossy. I'm the boss. Who said it? Beyonce, Rihanna, or Nicki Minaj?
Michelle Valentine.
She says it too, though. She says it too.
We're not quoting Nicki Minaj today.
Yeah, definitely not.
I mean, she has some good quotes, though before,
Yeah,
Never mind.
before all that.
Before all of that.
Mhm.
That might be Beyonce.
I'm not bossy, I'm the boss. It doesn't sound like Beyonce. She doesn't say it, she just does it. Right? What were the others? Nicki
Rihanna.
and...
Rihanna.
I'll go with Rihanna.
What about you guys? Lock in your answers.
Can I call a friend?
Sure.
I'd have to say Rihanna. Again, I can't comment on C, but doesn't sound quite like Beyonce.
Okay.
I don't know. This does sound like Nicki Minaj. I don't want to put on too much praise for her.
The old Nicki.
The old Nicki, right? The old Nicki. The old Nicki would say that.
Okay.
I think so.
You're all wrong. Beyonce did say this.
Beyonce said that.
You know what?
Before Beyonce went quiet.
And that was the last thing she said.
That was like the last thing she said.
Actually, I thought it was Khalees.
Oh, wow.
Yes, Beyonce said that. So,
Oh, that's
thank you
awesome.
for playing
Okay.
our trivia game.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much,
Yes.
ladies, for coming to our Pink Connection. I hope you feel connected.
I hope so.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, this was great.
Yes.
Good time.
All right.
So, thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the Pink Connection, where we embrace motherhood
And Daughterhood.
and every hood in between.
Make sure you guys are subscribed to our channel. Make sure you are staying tuned to our next video as well, or podcast, whatever you guys do, whichever way you listen to us, make sure you are listening next time we tune in. And please add us on all of our social media platforms at The Pink Connection on every platform. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Motherhood
And Daughterhood.
and every hood in between. You're tuned into the Pink Connection.